ergonomics and so on in here, the gear lever is huge.
Yes.
That is genuinely a massive knob. Okay, so today for our impressions video we have the
Opel Corsa Sport,
which is a 1.4 litre turbocharged engine.
correct?
Which is quite interesting because of course Corsas used to be naturally aspirated, or their sports used to be naturally aspirated, so quite a change for them. But
Yeah, I'm not sure how long they've been doing the turbo. This might be the second generation Sport with the turbo.
yeah,
Yeah, it's obviously not the OPC mad version.
no,
It's just the sort of middle of the range. I want something that's a bit quicker than a
yeah. So
Corsa.
would you say this is for your person who doesn't want to spend too much money but wants a little bit of extra get up and go?
Yeah,
Okay.
spot on. And that definitely provides that. I mean, it's 110 kilowatts, which is nice.
In a car this light,
Yeah, 220 newtons. So it gets going quite nicely. The claim stat is 9.6 seconds, 0 to 100, I think. Or 9 point.
but it feels quicker than 9.6.
Definitely feels quicker.
So much so that when we looked at the stats, we couldn't quite believe that that's all that it could do.
Exactly. As I was saying earlier, I think this, to me, feels like what a hot hatch used to be. You know, when
traditional hot hatch.
Exactly. When the Mark 1 Golf GTI came out, you know, it wasn't a sports car like the modern Golf GTI is.
Yeah.
You know, that thing is a serious performance machine.
Yeah, things like your ST, your GTI, all of those cars, they are serious. They're performance cars that you can run around in incredibly quickly
Yes.
and get an awful lot of speeding fines.
Yes.
Whereas the original philosophy behind a hot hatch was actually create something with a little bit of get up and go that you can have fun with
Yes.
at legal speeds.
Yes.
And in this, you can, it seems.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, look, if you really get on it, it'll still obviously go pretty quickly. But it just has that sort of light feeling. You know, the steering is quite. Yeah, I don't say that there's a lot of feel to it, but yeah, it gives the car a sort of light feel. It sort of dances along rather than being completely planted.
Yeah. Which is more exciting.
Yeah, definitely adds a lot to the fun.
It's not going to help your lap times, but how many people actually use that anyway?
Exactly.
And it's just a...
I'll go purchase one.
That's come on. And ergonomics and so on in here, the gear lever is huge.
Yes.
That is genuinely a massive knob.
Largely, yeah, the gearbox, the throw is a bit long. I could do something that's a bit shorter shifting, but you know, it's not a performance car at the end of the day. But otherwise, I find the ergonomics fine. It's got this Opel touchscreen infotainment system. I'm not sure what they call their version, which I must admit, as far as touchscreens go, is not my favorite. It does the job, but there's some things that I'm not.
It's also quite low down.
It is quite low down.
So when you're driving along, if you need to stop and look at it, you're not only just looking across, you're also looking down.
Right.
Yeah, so even your peripheral vision is limited
Yeah, when
by
you're looking at
that system.
I mean, it does have steering wheel controls, obviously, which do most of your functions fine. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. It doesn't have climate control, which is not a huge train smash. So all these sort of dials are pretty standard issue. But otherwise, I mean, I find it quite comfortable. It's got these nice sort of semi-sporty seats.
It is actually very comfortable. It handles
very
the
nice.
bumps incredibly well.
Yeah.
It really soaks them up. Even as the passenger, often as the driver, if a car is super firm and sporty,
you don't notice it as
you don't
much.
notice as much.
Yeah.
But as the passenger here, it's actually fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
It's got this Opel City steering thing, which makes the steering super light for parking lots. I don't see any point in that at all.
It's novel for one use only when you show friends and family,
Yeah.
hey, I can park with one finger.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But it's not like the steering is heavy in the first place. It's actually quite light.
Yeah. I've always
On over-assisted.
thought a city steering button is just something to brake.
Yeah.
I don't get
it
it.
is pointless.
It's quite nice though that the passenger gets a seat that can raise and lower.
Oh,
You don't often get that. I mean,
yeah. No, that is quite neat.
which is quite nice.
One thing Opel is doing really well at the moment is they're giving you a lot of stuff for your money. You know, that Opel Adam that we had recently,
Yes.
you know, that came with a lot of kit. So did the normal Corsa that we drove.
Yeah, which was great. We loved the normal course.
Yes. And so does this one. So, you know, it's got blind spot indicators, it's got other stuff that you would not normally get.
Yeah, so this seems like a good point to talk about price. Base cost is 255,000 Rand
Yes.
and a little bit of change.
Yes. See, that wasn't uncomfortable.
No,
that
that
quite
was
a big bump.
that was a very big bump. I'm glad I did not drive over there in my car. Yeah, so 255,000 Rand, which isn't badly priced, really.
No, not for a car that's got this sort of performance.
And I wouldn't say you obviously get a lot for your money. You get bang for buck.
Yes.
Certain areas, though, I do feel that they have skimped on, like the aircon controls. They look and sort of feel like they came from a 1980s Opel.
Yes. They
Which-
probably did.
Which is going to bother some people and not others.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to make it 255,000 Rand, they have to.
Cut somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to cut somewhere.
Yeah. Otherwise, though, all these sort of the stuff that you touch actually doesn't feel bad. I quite like this piano black finish on the dash. That's quite nice. As you say, when you get sort of aircon controls downwards,
That's a gold
that
Aston
is a
Martin.
golden Aston Martin. This sort of feels a bit not so nice,
Yeah, it feels a little bit tacky
but
there.
I could live with that with no problem.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of space. It's got a nice-ish size boot.
You could fit 4 adults in here
Yeah.
without any problems and do a long journey in this car, I think.
I think so. Regarding the sort of sport upgrades that they have done, obviously other than the turbo motor, there's 17-inch wheels, I believe, which is only on the Sport. The suspension has also been changed. I believe it's slightly lower than the standard car, and they've done some other revisions to make it a bit stiffer, which is also quite nice.
Yeah, I
at least
think-
they haven't just called it a Sport and done absolutely nothing.
I think those revisions have actually helped the car an awful lot. It's still comfortable,
Yes.
but it hangs on better through the corners.
Correct.
Which is
Exactly.
exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Fuel economy, what are you doing at the moment?
I am currently averaging, no, that's not me, 7.7. I've done one trip of about 120 k's on the freeway, and otherwise it's been completely town driving. Opel claims 7.4 for their urban figure. As I say, I'm doing 7.7, including one long trip. So I actually think, for the way that I drive, that's remarkable.
It's very good, yeah. Considering for the way you drove, we got 9 point something out of a Mercedes diesel.
The 200 diesel. Exactly. I mean, for a car that's got more power and it's petrol powered, I think it's very good.
Yeah, absolutely. The steering, does it have rack and rake, or is it just?
It does. It's got both.
See, that's amazing to me.
Yeah,
I always
really like that.
always want to pull the steering forward,
Yes.
and so often you can jump into a car that doesn't have that,
Yes.
which is very frustrating.
Coming back to the features, other than the blind spot indicators, it's got park distance control, rear camera.
Yeah, all of which is optional extra. So
Bluetooth, some gallery thing.
and we did a quick calculation and reckon if you took every single option available on this car, you'd be looking at about 40,000 rand, 45,000 rand if you ticked every box.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's not bad. Most places you can almost add an extra 50% of the car's price
Just an option.
just on options.
Yeah, there's a lot that doesn't cost very much.
So it tells you two things. A, it doesn't cost very much, as you say. And B, there's a lot that comes standard with the car.
Yes.
Okay, so in terms of what else you could possibly consider in this range,
Yes.
we're looking at things like possibly a Suzuki Swift Sport. We're looking at possibly a Ford Fiesta 1 litre EcoBoost type of vibe. Not that it's a sport model per se. And this car sits almost in a bit of an odd place in the market.
It does a little bit.
Which could be to its advantage.
Yeah, because it's a lot cheaper than what people call a hot hatch nowadays.
Yes.
But there's still quite a lot of performance to be had in this.
Yeah, and it's got sporty features,
Yes.
which is great. So if you're, I don't know, 21 or something, and you're looking for your first ever car, maybe you don't want something that's bland like a Fiesta EcoBoost.
Yeah.
You'd much rather say, I have a Sport, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
The fact is, I have a Sport. That hangs on very well.
Yeah,
That
pretty
really
well.
hangs on it very well. And you can rev it out
Yeah.
and still maintain a reasonable fuel economy
Yeah.
and be comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's almost it's quite a win-win, this car.
As I said, this is a true hot hatch in every sense of the word, because it's quicker than the standard car. It feels sportier. It's still just as practical as a normal one. It's not load, so it's scraping on the floor.
Yep. It's really back
And it's
to
affordable.
it's back to basics, back to the roots of what a hot hatch should be. So we thoroughly approve.
Yeah.